I, I really appreciate you saying that because I like to do a humble brag and say that Naga Notes really truly is an international podcast because I've had guests from all over the world, and my partner Safiso is in Cambodia, and hearing that there are Echo super hubs in the UK and in India, those are two places where I actually know people, and I hope that if they're listening, they either, if they don't know about them, they can connect now and reach out and augment this. But I think it's really inspirational too, that when we start talking about how moving the needle, leaving a legacy, really creating an impact on humanity. This is just a guy who saw a need and was like, hey, I think there's a great way to connect people. Let's do it. And then he researched it, wrote a paper, and then all of a sudden it caught fire. And like literally anybody could do that. And that's really, really encouraging. So if you're sitting around listening going, I don't know how I'm going to, impact society, just do something. And chances are really good that if it works, somebody else will notice. And then the ripple effect, who knows how far the ripple effect goes. Have you participated in any of the international echoes, or is it just too hard to coordinate across time zones?
I participated in US echoes when I was traveling internationally, but not
there you go.
the opposite way. I do have some connections with other echoes. As kind of part of the training for an echo, they have this, it's called immersion. It's a 3-day training that they hold at the University of New Mexico. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to go to that about a year ago, and was able to be in a class with, I don't know exactly how many people, but it was probably near 100 or so. And lots of these people were international, coming from the Central America, Australia, I think some parts in the Middle East, Russia. And so it was really this international community coming to Albuquerque and learning more about Echo and how to kind of run an Echo clinic and what it's all about. And so able to talk a lot about the Echoes that they're starting. And I still kind of follow a little bit as far as getting some emails about their current programming. But yeah, I haven't had the opportunity to log on to any of the international Echoes. Logged on to lots of other Echoes throughout our country though. And so a big fan of essentially a lot of the content that Echo is able to produce.
That's really great. It's awesome to hear that. Are they always in universities? Are they always anchored by a university?
Not always, no. Some healthcare systems have adopted them. Some, I think, here and there, some health insurance type companies, like quality assurance programs, have adopted the ECHO model. And so often they are associated with the university, but they can just be associated with a hospital system or a healthcare network.
Shifting gears a little bit, because I only rub elbows with the medical community. I'm not immersed in it like you are, because that's literally your profession and you're a leader within it. I'm curious. You work in gerontology. I work in mental health. I think mental health touches virtually everything. So, I try to absorb as much knowledge as I can. I'm wondering, in the medical profession, do you see a lot of overlap? I mean, certainly the elderly get all sorts of afflictions. Certainly there's elderly with hepatitis, there's elderly with hypertension. So you could virtually attend anything and learn something, right? Or is it more specific than that?
I think there's lots of ways to talk about it. One thing I think I would be remiss if I didn't mention it is that Echo started in healthcare, but now there's Echoes in lots of different other fields. And so they have, in Wyoming, they have a super hub related to Echoes with education.
Awesome.
And so teachers, they're able to connect teachers in rural areas. Here in Nevada, I think we have a similar issue where we have lots of schools out in rural Nevada. Lots of the teachers might be the only teacher or in that grade or that subject for hundreds of miles. And so being able to connect over a network like Echo is really great. And so Echo has also been adopted in lots of other fields beyond medicine. So just want to make sure I also mention that.
Yeah, and you mentioned water treatment or sanitation or whatever it was too. That was fascinating to me. I think we just kind of breezed over that, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so again, your question, I guess, Jake, was was it specifically about kind of geriatrics or gerontology, or did it have to do with kind of its integration into the Echo?
Well, I guess in the spirit of, I think sometimes we get locked into, I treat traumas and that's my bailiwick, and I do, gerontology and that's my bailiwick. But I'm here. My experience has been is that any knowledge is good knowledge, and almost nothing is irrelevant or unapplicable. I just don't know how precise a person in the medical field has to continue to be in his or her own path, so to speak, or do you find yourself as a physician branching out and receiving all sorts of information on, say, emergency care and that kind of thing, or do you mostly just stay within your realm?
I really think it depends on the environment that you immerse yourself in. One of the things I think about a lot is how fortunate I am to be part of Project Echo. And I'm a geriatrician. I find that the most interesting. I really enjoy taking care of elders. And so that's what I would tend to surround myself with, right? Those people, that type of practice. And so it's really easy in medicine to kind of silo yourself into your practice. But with Echo and also being in academic medicine, I'm exposed to pediatrics with our complex pediatric clinic, exposed to palliative care, exposed to pain management, exposed to first episode psychosis. I know that's a big clinic, our Navigate clinic that Jake participates in a lot. Those are things that I would never have read about or never learned about. But now I know a lot more than I ever thought I would. And it's been interesting and it's been fun to get to know about those things. And so kind of further to your point, lots of our clinics are really not based for specialty knowledge. It's really aimed at primary care providers and those kind of providing frontline care to kind of have access to that specialty care. Rather than making that referral for that question, you can ask that question on our Echo clinic using our case review forms. And then essentially you can learn and decide whether a referral would be appropriate based on what the experts say, or maybe you can kind of try a couple things before you send that referral out. Also kind of reassurance in case you feel like you're missing something, they'll definitely let you know if there's something that they think you should be looking at as well. And so just kind of, like Jake said, a great place to kind of create that community of learning because sometimes we don't have that in our current work environment.
Yeah, and in the efforts to coordinate care and wrap people in with all sorts of services, sometimes you end up sending your patient all over the map, and this is a great way to bring the map to the patient, so to speak. And it's not that we're suggesting anybody practice out of scope. It's that we're trying to we're painting a better picture in which we can make decisions for that person that we're treating. And I find it invaluable, and I would invite anybody to look up wherever they may be listening, see if you got an Echo around you, and then start participating in it, even if you don't think it necessarily applies directly to your profession. I did a school-based mental health one. That was awesome. I deal with almost no psychosis, people with psychosis, but I'm finding this fascinating. It's all just really good. I want to shift gears a little bit and go into your field of expertise, if you will, and have you talk a little bit about gerontology. We've never covered that on this podcast. I don't believe. My memory is fading as I get older, though, and it's there's some cobwebs accumulating in my brain. So somebody's like, "Yes, you did, Jake, back in 2018." Forgive me, but I know we haven't talked to an MD about it. Help us understand why gerontology is so specific and why it's necessary as its own discipline.
Sure. So I think the first place I'll kind of go back to kind of the way I introduced myself with, so I'm a geriatrician. I practice geriatric medicine. Gerontology, I often feel like refers to the PhDs in elder care. Ology is the study of, and then gero
Right.
is elder. Whereas in the kind of medical community, MDs, DOs, you can get specialization in geriatrics. You can do that through two routes. Everybody goes to medical school, and then you kind of choose your residency. You can either go through internal medicine residency or a family medicine residency, and to be eligible for then a geriatric fellowship. And so I did an internal medicine residency and then followed that up with a geriatric fellowship. And so kind of now board certified, you got extra tests you got to take, just like all the cardiologists, pulmonologists, rheumatologists to kind of specialize in geriatric medicine. And the reason that it's so important and why geriatrics has its own specialty is really to emphasize the changes that happen as you age and the common things that happen to people as they get older. In an ideal world, we would all age very gracefully, have really kind of an increasing, functioning at 100% all of our entire lives, be mentally well, be socially well, be financially well. But lots of those things really aren't a reality for a lot of people. And those different stresses that get applied to us as we age often end up in different syndromes or common sets of symptoms that we see. And as a geriatrician, it's my specialty to recognize those symptoms and kind of think about the different causes that can cause those and try and find solutions. And when solutions are tough to find because not everything we have control over, we come up with a treatment plan that's really centered around what matters to that person. And so with geriatrics, one thing that I'll definitely be sharing is kind of an age-friendly health system model of care. Another idea that somebody else came up with that I've done my best to adopt. But the John A. Hartford Foundation and the IHI, the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, I think along with the Catholic Hospital Association, kind of funded this initial project to help come up with an age-friendly health system. And I can talk more about that if you'd like, Jake.
Absolutely.
But that's a little bit about geriatrics.
Yeah, I do, because my head is swimming with questions mostly to do with, I guess, what are you seeing that are maybe not necessarily more challenging, but maybe more surprising that the random person in his 30s or 40s doesn't consider when we think about aging. I mean, when I think about aging, I think of depleting bodily systems. Your endocrine system doesn't produce as much, and your hair fades to gray, and like the typical things we see with a body that's wearing out. But then you mentioned mental health issues and financial issues, and life doesn't always go according to plan as we'd like. So what are some of the things that I guess we should be a little more mindful of in order to align our expectations with reality?
So I think the way I would phrase that question, Jake, is how does the geriatrician approach those essentially that unfairness that sometimes life can hold for us. And so in geriatrics, we know I can't do it by myself. And so I work on a team of people. I work on a team with a social worker and a pharmacist, and we often pull in multiple other team members like physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, and we do our best to come up with plans together with each of our areas of expertise. Again, focusing on kind of what matters to really avoid those changes. It's really kind of the basics, and your audience may be tired of hearing this. I know a lot of people are, but it's really kind of how we live our lives when we're younger that determines our aging process. Lots of things we can't control, and again, geriatrics is great for supporting you as you kind of continue to live with chronic diseases or kind of start to suffer some of those syndromes or common sets of symptoms that we see when people get older. But making sure you're eating well with your diet and making sure you're exercising. Those are really the things that keep you functioning.
So that homebrew hobby that you and I both share, I should probably reconsider that maybe if I want my liver to keep functioning.
Yeah, you definitely, too much beer in one day will cause issues with livers, hepatitis C causes issues with the liver, so does alcohol.
Yes, great, indeed.
Great connection.
Yes. If you wouldn't mind, talk about that health aging plan, however you refer to it, and forgive my rube. Yeah, age-friendly health plan. Yeah, my rube comments here, because I'm not in your field. I'm just kind of some dude asking questions. Feel free to rephrase as you wish.
Oh, no problem, Jake. Again, I just appreciate the opportunity to share some of these ideas with your audience. Again, I think these are great ideas that I essentially work. That's how I like to work is with these great ideas and to kind of be part of this broader community across the world. And so this age-friendly health system, along with Echo, is another opportunity for me to do that, to connect with others. And so an age-friendly health system, they've tried to make it really easy for us to think about it. So they've really broken it down to the 4 M's. The 4 M's are what matters, medications, mobility, and mentation. Mentation, like how you think. When they talk about mentation in this respect, they talk about dementia or chronic progressive cognitive decline, delirium, an acute cognitive change, or depression or other mental health issues. Because all of these are very common as people age. And so again, they break that down into the 4 M's: what matters, medications, mobility, and mentation. And really the goal is to find out what matters to that elder or that person, really, because you can really apply this to all patient populations and all people, to find out what matters, and then use the other 3 M's, use medication to help support what matters to them, use mobility to help support what matters, and then again, making sure that their mentation is also supporting what matters. Because as we get older, and this is often at the very ends of life, there's some sacrifices that people have to make for comfort and mentation.
Is it fair to say that medication is a very large umbrella that might just cover broadly all diet and not necessarily supplements?
Yeah. This is, I think, the second time I brought this up that somebody's asked about how nutrition fits into the 4 M's. I think that's a good way to think about it. I think I'll borrow that, Jake. I haven't had a chance to think about it too much.
Yeah, for sure. Steal it all.